So good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining. We were waiting to see if we would have gotten some more persons on, but we will have to run with what we have because I know you're all busy and today is Saturday. So you have quite a number of things that you should be doing or you need to do. Okay, so I will just go right ahead. The presentation will be shared with your instructor. So you can probably utilize it at a later time or date. All right. But thank you for coming, those of you who are here, and we will just start. Now, earlier on in the week, what you did was a mock interview. So basically what is happening, you're doing things in reverse because you should have really gotten this presentation to assist you in getting the understanding of what you should do when you are doing interviews, all right? So what I'll be speaking to you about today, this afternoon, is on the topic of preparing for an interview, and you will also be getting tips about resume writing, grooming, and also cover letter, all right? So let's go right ahead. Now, at the end of this session, you should be able to prepare yourself for a successful interview. You should be able to practice interviewing effectively, and you should be able to behave intentionally during an interview process. And you will also be getting an understanding of what personal development is. Okay? Now, the question is, does interview really matter? Does it really matter? And I'm asking the question. What are your thoughts of this, and why do you think interviewing matters? Anyone?
Yes, miss.
Yes, please.
I think interviewing matters, miss.
Yes.
Because you want to know the person's background and who you want to employ at your work, miss. You don't want to employ anyone that is not capable of doing the work.
Okay. Understand. Anybody else have any other thoughts? Alisa, Karen, Kimberly? Anyone else? So interview does matter. Yes. Go ahead, Karen. Karina.
I think the interview, when you're being interviewed, it does matter because when you're being interviewed, make sure the in and out, both of the company, the person telling you more about what they like about your company, if they did any research about your company, and also you get to know about the person's background, and if the person is capable enough, as she just said, for you to employ in your company and all of that. As I said, professional background and all of that. Yeah.
Absolutely. So you're both correct and you're both on the same path. And I would like to also add that when you are interviewing, when you hear the word interview, a lot of people always get fearful, but it really should not be. It should be a discussion. It should be a conversation that you are having with yourself as the potential employee and with your potential employer. So you are trying to find out as much as you possibly can about the company, and also the employer is trying to find out about you, the candidate. So really and truly, interviewing or interviews are a two-way street. You are trying to see if you would be a good fit into the company, and also the employer is trying to see, does the skills and abilities and everything match? So you are both looking at each other. So never ever think that interviewing is one way. It's two ways, okay? So you don't need to be fearful, although when you hear the term interview, there is some fear that is driven, in most people. They become fearful. Right, so interviews are important. And yes, the interview is very important. It's a very important part of the selection and hiring process in a company. Now, 10 to 30 minutes an interview can last for, but you have situation where if the discussion, as I had said before, it's a conversation you're having, it's a discussion. So you will have interviews that will last up to an hour or an hour and a half. Now, I've been in an interview where the interviewer and myself, we sat there for 3 hours. Now, it was really a stress interview, and perhaps later on you will be able to either hear from this presentation or through your own research the types of interview. Because when you have interviews lasting for that long, what the employers want to see is how you react under stress. So the interviews go longer and the questions are longer and you're having discussions at a longer period. All right. But it's really, if your interview lasts for less than 30 minutes, chances are they're not interested in you, the candidate. But if you see your interview is going 45 minutes to an hour and a half, then you stand a possible chance of being called again, perhaps for either a second interview, or you may go in for probably you're being called in to say, we are going to make an offer to you. All right. So the duration of the interviews. Now, for you, your interview that you did the other day was a mock interview. So you have graduate interviews, you have residency interviews, and you have employment interviews. So these are some of the professional type interviews. When I did my master's some time ago in 2018, I had to do an interview, which is a graduate interview. And that's really to find out why do you want to study at our institution? Why you chose this institution to do your master's. And so I had to do an interview with the professors and senior lecturers and stuff to kind of highlight why I wanted to be there. What is the real purpose, right? So you have various types of interviews, but for the last couple of days, what you did, you got an experience of what an employment interview would be like. So preparing for an interview, let me just stop sharing this screen and take you to another screen. Just 1 second, I want to show you a video. All right, so we are right here. So let me go again and share. Are you seeing the screen?
One of the most important parts of a job application is the job interview. In this video, you will learn what you can expect from an interview and get useful tips to help you prepare better. The job interview starts right at the first impression. Imagine you have arrived on time and you're ready to greet your new employer. How do you do this? Research shows that smiling, eye contact, and giving a firm handshake are crucial for a good first impression. For example, people with a strong handshake are generally better appraised. During the interview, your non-verbal communication remains very important. Examples are an active sitting position and making eye contact with each person in the room. The following 3 topics are almost always discussed during the job interview. 1, your life course. By asking questions about your background and experience, the employer tries to get a clear image of you. What have you done in your life? Why? What kind of person are you and what qualities do you have? 2, your motivation. The employer will also ask questions about your motivation. Why do you want to work with this organization? Why does this position appeal to you? It is important that you have a thoughtful answer to these questions. Your motivation also becomes apparent from the knowledge that you have about the company and its activities. 3. Competencies. The employer wants to know if you have the skills and personal characteristics that are needed for the job. You demonstrate these by using the STAR method. The employer also evaluates during the conversation whether he or she will work well with you and whether you will fit into the team. An employer will be more likely to select you when there is a good conversation dynamic. One way to achieve this is by giving short and powerful answers. The interviewer can then ask follow-up questions where necessary. Try to engage in conversation with all the interview attendants by asking them questions during or at the end of the conversation. In order to focus on your conversation partners and your nonverbal communication, you need to be well prepared. Below, you will find an overview of the most frequently asked questions during a job interview. When you can give a thoughtful answer to each question, you know that you are well prepared. This enables you to focus on having the best possible conversation. Try practicing with a friend who plays the role of the interviewer. Well, now we have discussed what you can expect during a job interview and what you can do to increase your success rate. If you want more detailed information, please find it below.
Okay. All right, so you saw that video. Are you seeing the presentation again?
No, Miss, and your screen blank. I'm not seeing you either.
Okay.
Seeing you now.
Are you seeing it now?
Yes.
Great. So what you saw just now was a little video on interviewing, what you should do, what is expected of you, the candidate, and also what is expected of the interviewer. You know, when you are going to do your interviews. All right. So there are expectations on both sides. Okay. So what you need to do is take the time to prepare for your interview and just what this means, right? It's a whole lot of things that you need to prepare. You need, once you get called to come and do an interview, you start preparing. It means that you need to also research about the company that you are being interviewed with, and you need to find out as much information about the position as possible. Usually, when you're called to an interview, you get what is called a job description that will help you to prepare for your interview. That is a real crucial piece of information. It's very useful to you, the candidate, because when you do your interview, you will realize that the interviewer is basically asking you questions from the job description. All right. So take the time to prepare for your interview. All right. So you heard me spoke about some things a while ago, and I said you need to learn as much as you can about the company that you're going to be interviewing with. You need to review the written material, their website if they have any. You need to go on their social media page, because a lot of companies nowadays, especially these big corporations, they have active social media pages. You need to also do Google search and find out if you have any latest news on this company. So say you're going to be interviewed for a chef position, at the Pegasus Hotel. So you will
Excuse
go,
me.
yes,
Excuse me. The screen is gone again.
the screen left. I'm not sure what's happening. Let's check that. Let's, so you need to go on the company's website and check to see what's, you're gonna learn as much as you can on that website. So you want to get all the information you can before you go to the interview. You also want to ensure that when you are speaking, you are able to speak intelligently about the corporation that you're interviewing with. So if they ask you a question to say, you know, how long has the Pegasus been in existence? You would need to know that, right? Because you would have done your research and you would be fully prepared to answer any questions about the Jamaica Pegasus Hotel, where the location of the entity. You need to know perhaps how many staff working there, the various departments. You also need these two critical information, their mission statement and their values, and perhaps their vision as well. Mission, vision, values, those are important, okay? So finding out as much as you can about the person that you are going to be interviewing with as well. So if the supervisor for all the chefs called you to an interview, you're gonna get the name of that person and you're gonna search for that person on the website. You're not stalking the person, you're not trying to find out any ills about the person. You are trying to find out information that could be used in a conversation. Because guess what? When you go to the interview, you know, there is called an icebreaker, where they will perhaps just engage you in any conversation, maybe how you found the place, was it easy to find, and stuff like that. And the conversation can branch off into you finding out something interesting about the person you are going to be interviewing with. Okay? So it's very good for you to get all the information you can about the individual. All right. So you're going to prepare your questions beforehand, all right? Always prepare your interview questions beforehand. So you're gonna think of possible questions that you can be asked. The most popular one is, tell me about yourself. And a lot of people don't like to speak about themselves, but when an interviewer asks that question, the interviewer is trying to find out who are you on and what is it you have demonstrated in your resume. Can you vocalize it? That's basically how to answer the question that is asked, who are you? The interviewer is not asking you how many children you have, how many persons live with you at the house, what is your light bill, how much you pay a month. They're not asking you about that. It is strictly professional, and all you need to answer is things about your professional development, and a useful tool to help you to answer this question is the job description. So you're going to write down the tell me about yourself question and try and prepare what is called a pitch, an elevator pitch, or some people speak about snaps these days. I think it's SNNAP. So what SNAP does is allow you to speak about your accomplishment. So as students, you would not have any experience in the working world. Perhaps you may have had part-time jobs and stuff. You can speak to those. But if you are fresh graduating from college, you would not have any experience at all. So what you would need to do is to kind of gather all the information that you know you can provide the interviewer things that you did at school. If you were a group leader, speak about how you are a good leader. You work well under pressure. You can demonstrate leadership skills and attributes and stuff like that, because you would not have any employment experience, some of you, right? So you would tailor your response around that, along that side. So have your questions written out and practice them until they become perfect, okay? You always, the more interviews you do, by the way, the more practice you will get and the more comfortable you will also get in your interview. So be sure to appear curious, be sure to appear as if you understand the company, you know the company, and you can speak very intelligently and also eloquently when you are asked these questions. So prepare your answers for your interviewers. Sometimes you will have more than one interviewers, right? Because you will have what is called a panel. You would have experienced that this week where you had a number of persons asking you questions, okay? Some will be silent and just observing while you will get questions thrown at you from all different interviewers. So they are there to kind of put you under additional stress. Yes, when you have panel interviews, it can be additional stress for you because you are wondering, what is it you're going to ask you? Will I be able to answer these questions? Am I prepared? The best thing to do is to practice, practice, practice. Get a friend and said, listen, I have this interview coming up. Can you ask me these questions that I have written out? All right. You can also Google interview questions for chefs or interview questions for admin officer. Or if you're going to be, say you're going to be in any field, any profession. I mean, you want to go into the hospitality industry, it is a wide field. So you can be anywhere in the hospitality industry. Find out the role that you're applying for and search what the questions, the possible questions could be, and try and master those questions, okay? Good. Be able to tell the interviewer about yourself briefly and succinctly. You don't want to carry them into any long story. When you grow up, how many people were living with you? You had how many brothers? You used to fight with them, stuff like that. No, you need to just be brief, be very professional because you are speaking to a possible employer. So you need to be very brief and succinct. You also need to be able to express your interest about the position that you are applying for. So don't go to the interview just lackluster, wanting a job and not knowing what the job entails. All right, it's gonna show, trust me. And these recruiters are getting very skilled these days. They can detect when you just want a job or you genuinely want to be at the company. All right, so always be brief, speak about your academic achievement, speak about your career path, and be engaging, and also have a friendly face. Don't tell the interviewer anything that is untoward. Like I hear some people answering questions and they tell the interviewer that, oh, I don't really like to be around people. I don't get along well with people. Those are things that will turn the interviewer off and they will say, well, you're not a good fit for this position or for our company. And the interview will just end there. So you have to be careful what you say. Don't give out too much information. Just be brief and just be professional about what you're doing. So my key to you is to practice, practice, practice your interview. It's very important that you take the time to practice for your interview. So you must plan, prepare, and practice. Now, how do you practice your interviews? As I said, get a friend, get your family member, get a colleague and you do that, just that. Practice from the handshake. It is said that your handshake will determine how successful you will be in that organization if you get employed. Yes, it can be used to detect. So if you have a strong and powerful handshake, it can move you up into the interviewing list or the short list of candidates. So if you go in there with any fenke handshake or looking like you're not sure about yourself, that's a dead giveaway that you're not really ready for the interview. So practice your handshakes and don't go broken off the people's hands, right? Don't be too powerful, but be forceful and purposeful, all right? So you are also going to practice, because trust me, I've done so many interviews with persons and I want to end the interview right away because of how the eye contact, the facial expression, how they sit in the chair, they swing in the chair from side to side, they're just not ready for this interview. And I just want to end. So you believe the recruiters have that frustration because of what they're seeing, what you're giving off to them when you're being interviewed. All right, so always look alert, look ready, and look professional. Practice carrying materials to the interview. So you will carry your resume, another copy, print 1 or 2 more copies just in case. If you had done any updates prior to you handing in your original resume, bring extra copies with you when you're going to the interview, and bring your notebook because you want to look engaging, you want to look interesting, and you want to let the interviewer know that I am the right person for this position, okay? So bring interview, you're taking notes. Remember, it is a two-way conversation. I said this earlier on to ask family members to help you to practice, but be open to criticisms, because when you ask a friend to say, tell me how I did, genuinely, they're gonna tell you how you did. So if you really did bad, they're gonna tell you, and it is for your own good. Don't take it personally, okay? It is for your own good. So accept both positive and negative feedbacks and incorporate those feedback into preparing further for your interviews. So when you're going to your interview, it is important that you dress for the occasion. Now, the other day when we had the mock interviews, you guys, you got very comfortable in how your approach to the mock interview was. Some of you came and you dressed okay. Some you just said, you know what, I have a mock interview, let me go see what this is all about. And you came and you had on your sleeveless shirt and your hair was messed up, stuff like that. Look, I am speaking to you today on this platform, and I took the time to get myself together. It's because it's hot now and the sun is out and everything, why you don't see me in a jacket, because it is a presentation. But at least I look a little appropriate for this conversation that we're having. And it is important that you do the same. When you're called to an interview, be mindful of your surroundings. I saw persons passing in backgrounds of other persons while they were on camera speaking, and persons were naked passing. Yes, it's your home you're at. And remember now, everything is being virtual and you have the opportunity to be comfortable at home, but be mindful when you're on camera. Get to a quiet place, get to a safe place where no one will be passing you naked. Yes, and you can be sure that the person who is looking on and having the conversation with you is not seeing what's going on in your background. Okay, so it's very important that you do that. So how do you attire yourself for an interview? Find out the type of interview you're doing. Not all interviews require require you to dress in a jacket and tie. If you're going for an interview, say a bearer, yes, the bearer would probably wear a jeans and a nice top, right? So though in those circumstances you have give and take where you don't really need to dress in any three-piece suit to go there. But if you're going to a corporate interview, you have to be appropriately attired, all right? It's a big plus for you when you get yourself together, you have your makeup on for the ladies, the men, you're groomed properly, well shaved and ready to dress. It's called dressing for success. So those are some of the things you can see there on your screen, or you should look if you're going for a corporate interview, and how you should dress appropriately. Now, I think some time ago, people used to say, do not wear pants on your first interview, right? I don't know, maybe people are now becoming accepting in certain cultures. And so you can now dress in whatever you're comfortable in, but ensure that what you're wearing is not too tight, not too big as well. Don't go borrowing anybody's jacket and going to the interview and it's swinging on you. Make sure that you are appropriately dressed. All right. Now for the men, that's your attire, a nice top, a tie if you wish, depending on where you are going to be interviewed. It's said as well that you should wear dark color for your interview. You should have solid colors, right? So navy blue is a good one. Black is a good one, but ensure that it's solid color. Don't go wear anything too bright. No bright yellow, bright pink, neon green, those things, they will distract from your presentation because people are just gonna be looking at you and just saying, are you crazy? Did you come to the interview in this bright orange, bright yellow, bright green outfit and wearing a big tie and big scarf around your neck and all of those things? You have to be careful, especially to get an understanding as to where you're gonna be interviewed and for what position, all right? So dressing for success is crucial. So you don't wear no swag jeans or no showing your armpits type of blouse, ladies. Ensure that your nails are trimmed. Limit the jewelry. Don't go putting all 5, 6, 7 earring in your ears. No loud perfume. Nail polish. Your nails like I don't remember the type of nails that they have these days, but the long claw looking things, especially if you're going for a chef position. Can you imagine you walk into to be interviewed for a chef and you have on green nail polish or orange nail polish or blue nail polish and long claws? No tattoos either. If you have tattoos, try to cover them up. It is very distracting when you have. I interviewed a young lady the other day and she had in her nose ring. Yes, you have to be careful because, I mean, if you're going for a marketing position and those hip, you know, if you're going to be, say you're going to be a promoter or a DJ manager or so, that environment, it may be acceptable, but not if you're going for a job at the Pegasus or AC Hotel or those big establishments, okay? Be careful what you wear to your interview. Now, the simple rules for attiring for this interview, make sure that if you're in doubt, chances are, if you look in the mirror and you're saying to yourself, this doesn't look good or appropriate, 9 out of 10 times it doesn't, all right? So ensure that you are comfortable in what you are putting on for this interview. And remember that the interviewers should remember you for what, you know, I went to an interview and I did not even know that I was so coordinated. My glasses, my jewelry, and my outfit, everything matched. And that's what's the first thing the interviewer said to me. So that could have been used as an icebreaker as well. They said, boy, you well coordinated this morning. Everything is in order. And when I looked down and I realized, I said, oh my God, I didn't even realize that I was so coordinated. So that's how you have to ensure not to be coordinated that like that, but I mean, to wear something that they will remember you for. So be thoughtful in how you appear, how you dress for your interview. All right. So you must behave intentionally for your interview. So before your interview, you may have heard me said this, confirm the time and the location of your interview. Have you ever been called to an interview and you're lost? You don't know where to find it. You don't know who you're going to. When you go to the interview, you're asking for wrong names. All of those things you need to put down in your notebook that you're taking, the name of the person you're going to be interviewing with, the time, the location. If you want to call ahead and get the directions, do that, because on the day of your interview, there is something called Murphy's Law. If anything can go wrong, it will go wrong. Traffic, you call for something else and you just get distracted, okay? So be prepared. Be sure to make a positive impression by arriving at your interview as early as possible. Don't go there if you have a 9 o'clock interview, you're gone there from 7 o'clock. That is just too much. I've interviewed persons, and the gentleman said to me, Miss, if you know how far I'm coming from, right? He was coming from St. Mary and to come to Kingston for a 9 o'clock interview. So he was there at the interview location from 7 a.m. All right, that's too early, but make sure that you are there on time, at least half an hour before. Now, when I arrive for an interview very early, I don't go in and tell them that I am there, because why? It just brings unnecessary pressure to you and perhaps the interviewers. You can perhaps, if you drive, you park somewhere close by, or if there's a mall nearby, you go and sit somewhere and just make sure that when it's interviewing time, you go at least 15 minutes before, okay? If you find yourself having to experience unavoidable situation, example, like you forget the place where you're supposed to go, or you don't remember the name of the person who you are to interview with, ensure that you get the information from somebody inside the company, or to find out from the security guard if there is one. They are always good help, right? They save lives as well. They don't just lock out people and prevent you from entering the building. They are there for a purpose. They're very useful. So you can say to the security guard, you know, I have an interview this morning at 10, but I don't remember the HR manager's name, or I don't know who I'm interviewing with. They're not going to tell on you, right? Ask the security or somebody to assist you. But calling ahead of time and communicating your challenges, if you should anticipate any, is always good. Remember now, you are being evaluated on a number of things. You are being evaluated on punctuality. You're being evaluated on your appearance. You are being evaluated on several things: how you communicate, how you speak, how you look. So be prepared. Treat all individuals as well with respect. So you hear me speak about the security guard. There are times when I go to the companies and I said, sir, good morning. And he's looking at me as, why are you calling me sir though? You know, but be respectful. Treat everybody as if they are the person you are going to be interviewing with. Because I tell you this happened to me recently. I went to a place to be interviewed, and the person who was going to interview me was outside standing up on the phone. So can you imagine if I did go to the security guard and say, yo, security, me there for an interview, you know, or something like that. The person would have said, huh? You know, and raised high eyebrow and said, am I going to really speak to that person? So treat everybody with respect and be aware of your surroundings. All right. Do you have any questions at this point? Before I move to the other section. No? All right. Behave intentionally during and after the interview. Remember, you're still being interviewed until you drive far or reach far back at the bus stop. You can then go back or return to your normal self. But when you're in an interview or during the interview, you have to put on a show. You have to make sure. I'm not saying you to pretend, but you must be authentic and you must ensure that the impression that you are giving or bringing across is your true self. So don't go to the interview putting on any different twanging language or anything like that. Speak properly, but don't go to the interview trying to impress anybody by speaking. You know, Jamaicans, we get accent really quickly and we break out into them perhaps sometime unintentionally. All you need to do is to be yourself, okay? So enter and depart with confidence. Don't go, when you arrive at the interview and you go to the room, do not sit down unless they tell you. They must invite you to sit. So when you enter with confidence, and when you're leaving, you leave with confidence. Do your best to pronounce the names correctly. Also, sit upright. Don't swing the chairs. A lot of times I see persons put a swinging chair for the applicant or candidate to sit in to see how well they will. Because believe you, when you are under pressure and stress, you're going to want to swing your chair. You're going to want to twiddle your thumb, play with your jewelry, play with your earring, just about anything that you can get to take the ease and the pressure off you. All right. So keep your hands out of your hair and away from your face. Be mindful of your manners. You're not going to the interview with a gum in your mouth. You're not going to the interview after you have just had a drink of alcohol, or if you smoke. Yes, I've had persons come to me in interview and they smoke, and that's the first thing you smell when you are speaking to them and stuff like that. So be mindful when you're going to interview. You must be careful of your appearance, what you do before your interview, and it can be something that you need to take a second check on. All right. So although you're showing enthusiasm for the position, don't be too excited about it and forget where you are. Also, remember, very importantly, to turn off your cell phone. If you can avoid taking them with you in the interview, do that. It is very useful for you to be sure that you don't have anything to distract you. This is very important, and perhaps another tip that I can give you: when you are doing your interviews and you have ended the interview, always send a thank you note to your interviewer or interviewers. A thank you note gets you automatically up the top of the interviewing list of candidates when you do that, because it resonates well with your interviewer, okay? Ensure though that your grammar is correct and you are professional. And let me tell you, I had it further on into the presentation to speak about it. But these email addresses that you have, please take check of them. I have seen resumes come to me as a HR manager with babylips@yahoo.com, Jackie Big Breasts @yahoo.com, and all of those things, dimples no. Be professional with your email addresses. Ensure that it is your first name, your last name, and perhaps numbers or any other characters that you want to use. But avoid using slangs and words that may perhaps put you in a bad light, okay? Yes, you have nice dimples. Yes, you have beautiful eyes @yahoo.com or beautiful eyes @gmail.com, but you don't need to have, if you want to keep that email address for your other activities, that's fine. But when it comes onto your professional platform, you have to ensure that your email address is professional as well. So practice, practice, practice. Remember to be honest and be yourself. Be the best version of yourself. That's all I can tell you. Now, 3 things that you should know about seeking employment. As graduates of IUC, International University of the Caribbean, is that it? Or is college? International University College. International University of the Caribbean, as graduates, don't think that your degree will guarantee you huge earnings. Employers are not fair. You went and you studied for your degree 3 years, 4 years, 7 years. When you go to the employment, they want to pay you little or nothing, right? So your degree does not guarantee you huge earnings right away. A lot of people had to work their way up. Some people, they have their first degree, second degree, third degree, and they are starting off with salaries like a clerk who have 7 CXC. It's unfair, but this is the world we live in. So just prepare yourself for this. Your degree does not guarantee you huge earnings. It takes a recent graduate 3 to 6 months to secure employment. And this is the truth, all right? Some people leave college from when, and they can't get a job even now, right? But they have to do what they have to do. Some people, you find them working in other areas until they can get employment in the area that they want to. It's just the reality. Those who network, networking is important, and what that means. Talking to people, telling them you're looking for a job. Friend up if you must. People at the Pegasus from now, because you know that's where you want to be, working in the restaurant area, working in the waiters area, wherever you want to be. Ensure that you network. Find those people, talk to them. Don't, as you find them, you say, hey, I'm looking a job. No. Feel them out, find out things about them, and communicate. It might just happen that the person in your net group, your work, you call them your niche, or persons in your field will just be looking out for you from time to time. So networking is important, and it guarantees at least 70% that you're more likely to gain employment in where you want to be. A little affirmation here for you. It says here, my denial. When you are denied, I'm just going to paraphrase it. When you are denied certain things, it doesn't mean that it wasn't meant for you or not for you. All right? What I'm trying to say is, when you get rejected, it's an opportunity for you to fix things and be ready for the next big opportunity. So no for me, N-O, when somebody tells me no, it means next opportunity, right? It doesn't mean they don't want me, I'm not qualified or anything like that. Always look to that and you will not put yourself in depression because jobs are hard to get. So always think about when you don't get an answer from the first interview, the second interview, the third interview, the fourth interview. I have known persons interviewing for 1 year, 6 months, and they just called me recently to say they got a job. Yes, because it's their time. So denial does not mean delay. My delay does not mean denial, in other words, okay? Questions to ask your interviewer. Your interviewer at the end of your interview will say, do you have any questions for me? Them going to ask you that. Do you have any questions for me? Now, always answer yes, because guess what? You have prepared at least 3 questions for your interview. Never ever say you don't have any questions, okay? Always. You want to find out more about either the person you're interviewing with, or you want to find out about the company, the culture, or anything. Have 3 questions at least. I've highlighted one there in red because that is something you should know. So another tip is don't ask questions that the interviewer will say, but you should know that in your research. So what are your values? Is not something that you should be asking the interviewer unless you don't see it, right? Because some people don't put their values on their website. Some people, they may have it in the building. So when you get there, you will see a list of the company values, whether the values are integrity, trust, honesty, pragmatism, whatever. Those are company values. And you can also use these to build your interviewing speech when you are doing your question, you're answering your questions. All right. So those are 3. I put 4 there, but always try and find out about the culture. Try and find out about the try and find out. You're not seeing the screen? Are you
No,
seeing?
I'm not. No.
All right, let me stop sharing and reshare. So how long you not seeing the screen now? Tell me. Oh geez. Are you seeing it now?
No, miss.
Wow.
Um,
So always have 3 questions ready for your interviewer. So I'm coming close to the end. Just need to speak to you a little about your resume and cover letter. And then we wrap up from there. And if you have any questions for me, you can either send them to your instructor and I will respond to them, or we can discuss them at another time, okay? Quickly, resume writing and cover letter, very important. So this is before you get the call to the interview. You have to ensure that your resume is in tip-top shape and with for those of you who will apply online, the recruiters have their best friend waiting for you, which is called the Applicant Tracking System, ATS. So they will run your resume, and if your resume don't speak to what they're looking for, you are automatically bumped out of the interviewing list. So these are things you need to take care of before you even start writing your resume. So let's go quickly. So we're looking at cover letters, the purpose, what is a cover letter, formatting of the cover letter, and things to bear in mind. So your cover letter is a complement to your resume. So what I did the other day, I wanted to write a cover letter and I typed in, say I wanted to apply for a job as an admin officer. So I typed in Google cover letter for admin officer. And it gave me examples of how the cover letter should look like. And then I use those examples to tailor mine, because you can't use somebody else's experience to be yours. You have to speak to the cover letter that best represents you as an individual. So it is a complement of your resume. And ensure that your cover letter narrates, it's a narrative of the resume, and you must be brief. So in your cover letter, you should speak about things like, I have been an admin officer for 10 years, and I have done XYZ. I know how to greet and meet customers, but be sure not to be taking everything from your resume to put in your cover letter, because this is supposed to be complementary to each other, all right? So you're showcasing your personalities and your values in your cover letter. The cover letter should highlight your academic and professional qualification as well. So you can start off your cover letter by saying, I am a recent graduate of the International University Caribbean, where I've studied hospitality and tourism management. In my class, I was group leader, and I prepared projects and seminars and stuff like that. So you want to showcase your talent in your cover letter. So your cover letter, when I read it, should grab me to say, hey, let's get Barbara in, let's get Karina in, let's get Alicia in and interview them for this position. That's what the cover letter does, okay? So what I want you to do is to practice writing your own cover letter and be purposeful about it. That's an example of a cover letter. Some cover letters these days are coming very elaborate. They're putting their pictures on them, and the recruiters are allowed to read the cover letters or the documents before they know who they want to call in to make the connection and to interview them. So your cover letter should talk about why you and also why them. So tips for writing your cover letter quickly. Don't just rehash what the resume is talking about. Tailor your cover letter to the specific job. You heard me mention admin officer. You can tailor your cover letter for a chef. You can tailor your cover letter for a waitress or a waiter. But be proud of your past accomplishments and also keep it brief. You are to address the hiring manager personally. So don't just say their employment person. Call the person by name, their Sharon Lewis, or their, you can even, if you don't know the name of the individual, you can say their hiring manager. Even that sounds better than their employment person or their interviewer, all right? But use words, use the job description to assist you in preparing your cover letter, and be mindful of how you address your cover letter. Resume, tips for writing your resume. Remember I spoke about the embarrassing email addresses? It really automatically disqualifies you from being taken into consideration for future engagement, all right? So they are turned off by your email addresses. Tips for writing the resume: highlight your success. When you get to a stage where you have worked for a number of years, you start to use figures to highlight your success. What do I mean by that? So you would put in, say, I am an HR manager. So I put in my resume 100% interviewing of applicants, 100% in reviewing and adjusting job description. So you're using figures to highlight your accomplishment. Or you don't have to be 100%. It can be you have increased sales by 50% in the year 2018 for the sales team, sales and marketing team. So always use figures if you have that experience. If you don't, find a template online that best suits you and work with it. All right, everything that is available to you that you need is there online. Use basic fonts, and also you heard me mention it, use numbers to quantify your accomplishment and your success. Also, when you're putting in your address, make sure you put the full address. I know some people use different addresses because they may live in areas where they may think that the person may discriminate against, but always use full address. And remember to put relevant information and accomplishments on your resume and also in your cover letter. Do you have any questions for me?
You can give us a feedback about the interviews that you did.
Okay. Is Miss Robinson there? Is Miss Robinson there? Okay. Well, I'm seeing her, but I'm not hearing her. No. Okay. For your interviews that you did the other day, I kind of alluded to some of it. You had some persons coming online looking very comfortable. You had persons whose background wasn't ready. Ensure, especially nowadays with COVID going on, a lot of interviews are done online and less face-to-face. But when you go back to brick and mortar, meaning building, when you go into buildings and you're doing your interviews, you are less likely to encounter these situations that you do online. So for example, basic things, always remember to stare in the camera. That people where your camera is, look there. So don't have the interviewer, you're interviewing on your phone and you're looking down, because all I'm seeing is inside your nose when you do that. And a lot of people were doing that. They were looking down at me, and it's also a sign of disrespect. So you have to be careful because you're looking down on the person that is interviewing you. All right. The sleeveless. Remember, although it's a mock interview, you have to dress for the mock interview, because chances are, if you practice dressing like this in a mock interview, you may do it. Not saying that you will, you may do it when you go to the actual interview. Now, I had some questions. Some questions were asked the other day of you, and they were simple, like to tell me about yourself. I had persons talking about where they grew up, stuff like that. I mean, I know you are graduates. You perhaps don't have any experience. Some of you may have some experience. What I want you to do is to remain professional. So don't tell in the interviewer that you live with your husband, you have 2 children, they like to eat, stuff like that. Keep it professional and just remain along the lines of what the position you're being interviewed for, and also remain along the lines of the job itself. All right. I have had persons, I asked questions such as, what is your greatest strength? What is your greatest weakness? Now, I have a document that I will send to your teacher sometime next week or so, as soon as I get to tailor it to fit you, because it will get you in this exercise mode of speaking about your strength and being positive about it and talking about your weakness. But when you mention a weakness, always, one, don't mention a weakness that will be used against you, right? So if the job asking for you to be someone who speak a lot, don't say your weakness is, I don't like to talk. All right, so you're using that against you, okay? So talk about your weakness and talk about what you're doing to correct it. So if you say you don't like to talk, say then, but I am working on it. This is something I am doing because I know the job requires me to speak a lot. So I have engaged in a forum where I can talk more. So when you give a weakness, talk to the strengths that you are working on. All right?
Excuse me, Miss Michael.
Yes.
So if I was to say my greatest weakness would be that I am impatient at times, and also I take things personally. Would that be good for me to say?
No. That means you don't like criticisms. And then when you get to the company and they're doing your appraisal, them going to say, Lord Jesus, this lady going box me over because she don't want me to tell her that she not doing a good job or she need to work harder or anything like that. So you have to be careful what you say. All right, so how to fix that and not sounding negative? You don't like criticism. You can say that you appreciate if you are giving a feedback, make it constructive. All right? So work along that line. Okay, Miss?
Okay.
Oh, Miss Karina, sorry.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. All right, so work along that line. Do we have any more questions? Are we there? Any more questions? Shadea?
No, miss.
Pretty girl, Shadea and Crystal. Not seeing you.
No, miss, I don't have any questions. It was straightforward.
All right, so did you learn anything today?
Yes, miss, it really refreshed my memory. Even the part about the affirmation.
Yes.
A lot of times we say, even for me, I'm being honest, I love to talk about me. Like if you're going to work and you know you're late, like you're like, oh, well, I'm late already. And I nothing, well, I'm reach me just do more for the no. So I try to, in my perspective, I try to my best now to put things together the night before, set my alarm, so I can reach out early so that when I reach at work, I can get probably a 5 minutes prep time, drink my little tea, and then I can do what I can do, because it comes off a bit rude to the employer and also the other employees that is working, because I cannot just say, oh, I'm late already, just take a look at time and I walk in at the business, people in business place. So it's a bit disrespectful. So I try to do better because I try to evaluate myself too, instead of really pointing my finger on somebody else. So I see it's working. I do have a lot of things doing, but I try to work on it.
Great. Awesome. Thank you so much. Is that
yes, miss?
All right. So guys, thank you so much for joining me. This presentation will be sent to your instructor, Miss Robinson. And I really appreciate the time that you have taken into doing this. Interviewing is something that you're not going to escape. It's like maths, you know, you have to do it. All right. So you have to always be prepared. And just like math, you have to practice, practice, practice. All right. So thank you. See you again sometime soon, perhaps in your establishment. When you see me at the Pegasus, don't hide from me. Those who are in employment at the Pegasus or the AC Hotel. I know you guys will do very well in your field. And I know that your accomplishment, you are graduating from a very good course. You attended a very good school, a great school, and they are preparing you to function as best as you can in your working environment. The field of hospitality and tourism management is very wide, and you can do great things in that field. So be mindful of where you go, what you do, and always be professional. It's a very professional field, and you must always present yourself very well and do your best. All the best. God bless you, and take care of yourselves. All right?
You too, miss.
Take care.
Same to you, miss. Bye.